If you're a small business owner, you'll know just what it's like to be the chief everything officer. HR, payroll, employee benefits. Well, Gusto can do all of that for you. Gusto is online payroll and benefits software built for small businesses. It's all in one, remote friendly, and incredibly easy to use. It's quick and simple to switch to Gusto. Just transfer your existing data to get up and running fast. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonsoccer and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's gusto.com/lockedonsoccer.
The world's biggest soccer tournament has arrived, and you can trade the entire tournament on Kalshi. On Kalshi, you can trade every match from the opening stage all the way to the final. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use code CUP26 to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI Kalshi. Trade the beautiful game. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory.
Study and play come together on a Windows 11 PC. And for a limited time, college students get the best of both worlds. Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
And welcome to Howie the Podcast. It's Gav. We're back at Sheepfolds for another one of these sit-down, chat shite with a pint kind of pods. I'm joined by three lovely gentlemen, starting off with Andrew. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Chat shite with a pint. There's a pod idea in that, I think.
Well, there we go. There's our feature title for the pod, Chat Shite with a Pint. Joins us again is James Nichols. Hello, mate.
Hello.
Yes, I'm going to have to try really hard not to point this at you when you talk because you are actually wearing a mic. Are you good, mate?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad.
You've got World Cup fever. You sat there with England top one.
I've got World Cup fever. I feel like I'm probably the only person in the Northeast who has it. There's a lot of people who are kind of a bit glum. I've seen my group chats earlier and it was like my mates were just like, I went to bed at half time. I didn't really watch it. And I feel like I'm the only one who has it. But I don't know. I was positive about England until maybe 9 o'clock yesterday. Obviously, I went out to World Cups myself. So I've always been like a big World Cup fan. Like England fan, which is not really something that you see. Like a lot of Sunderland fans are like club over country, but I'm personally loving it. You can probably tell by my bags under eyes that I'm sleeping about 4 hours a night, so I'm staying up till daft o'clock to watch as much as possible.
I'm going to circle back around to that. And also making his pod debut is a Roker Report regular who will have read his stuff on the site. Normally baiting mags. It's Ian Bendel. Hello, mate.
Hello, Garth. Nice to finally be on after 6 years of lurking in the shadows. I've taken some time out from mag baiting to come and talk about other things.
Yeah.
Because, they are irrelevant now and we are here with much more important things to discuss like Europe.
Yes, absolutely. We actually, let's pull the curtain back a little bit. We actually have been to a meeting at Stadium of Light tonight. One which we thought, well, when we get out of that meeting, we'll go for a pint, we'll talk all about it, which we can't really do because right at the top of that meeting, it was kind of like everything discussed in this room today. Can we just keep on the down low for the time being? There's a lot of really important things that the club are going to release in their own time around, ticketing Europa League kits, things like that. So obviously to respect the club's wishes, that's what we're going to do. But we can, I guess, kind of talk about our feelings going into the summer, into the new season, without touching on details. And of course, we all met Tom Burwell today, which is the first time I've ever met him. He was the interim CEO of Sunderland AFC, but it appears he is now the full-time CEO of Sunderland AFC, although there's been no official announcement. I think that was quoted in a piece. It might be in iNews, actually. I was thinking it was The Athletic, but I think it was iNews last week had said it is now since been made a permanent position. I might be wrong. It might have been The Athletic. Apologies if it was, but looks like anyways Tom Burwell is the guy running the club. And like I say, without going into any real details here, what did you make of him? I know he kind of sat at the back of the room, let others run the meeting. It was a supporter collective meeting, by the way, so there were other fans there and just chatting about various things that are going to be going on in the new season. But very much front and centre and kind of having his input, seems in control, seems like a decent bloke, seems like he's got his head screwed on and that he, kind of knows what he's doing, which is nice and reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a direct guy, he says what he thinks. He's not going to soft soap anything. And I suppose without being able to kind of go into too much detail on what exactly was discussed tonight, we don't need to worry, I don't think, in terms of everything that's going to be announced over the next, 6 weeks to 2 months. There's a lot to go through. There's a lot to work out, and there's a lot of logistics. But, he seems like a guy in control, and we're in good hands, I think. But the time will tell.
Yeah. What do you think, James, of the fact that he's seems he's been made permanent? Because I don't know, you'll have listened to the podcast he did, the Sports Business podcast, where he talked about the fact that it was very much an interim position. He was interviewing candidates to take the role full time. Like I say, there hasn't been a full proper announcement about this, but he is the man at the helm effectively. And even if there is no formal announcement about this, he's the guy running the show going into the new season. It's a really important time for the club. Obviously, first time we've been in Europe since the 70s. From a growth perspective, the club probably were very short term in their thinking last season, because it's like almost, promoted teams go straight back down. We have to prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Yeah. Obviously, best case scenario virtually happened for us. So now we can be a bit more serious about the growth of the club. And being honest, you can kind of see why he's in post, can't you?
It's natural progression. I think David Bruce has done a brilliant job. You can't deny that. Outstanding, the connection to the fans, the fact he's a Sunderland fan itself, meant that a lot of his decisions were fan forward. What I liked about Tom in that meeting was there was a lot of club members or staff there who were from certain positions, and Tom was like interjecting from behind us with like what felt like fan forward points of view, like talking about different things that we would think as fans. He was actually the one raising it, and when I heard it was his voice, very raspy sort of cigarette smoker's voice.
Sounds like Sean Dyche. I think we all agreed on that when we were chatting before. It sounds a bit like Sean Dyche. There's nothing wrong with that. I quite like Sean Dyche's voice.
If anyone wants to know as well, he's a very intense handshake.
Bally-esque. What did he call him? He didn't call him Kevin Ball, did he? What did he call him? Michael Ball.
Yeah, Michael Ball.
In that Sports Business podcast. So a bit Bally-esque handshake.
But no, I think Burwell himself, he's got like, it's natural progression really. It's kind of like Speakman, Bruce, Stuart Harvey. A lot of these people have kind of become victims of their own success, and the fact that they've done so well, the club has naturally had to move beyond them quicker than they would have liked to. There's a lot of aspects at the club that still exist that's kind of catching up to the football, because it's so much harder to move like a monolithic entity than it is just to do what you do on the pitch. And there's like a lot of parts of the business which are catching up. Burwell himself, he's worked with Kirill for a very long time. He's one of Kirill's confidants. He's the head of BS Sports Group, which is a worldwide business. It is the premier place for Supercross. It is the premier place for rugby sevens. He's got vast experience of running a global brand and a global identity, and that's kind of what Sunderland have to do. Like, yes, Sunderland want at forefront to be a family club, to be a local club, steeped in history, steeped in everything that makes Sunderland unique. But also, you have to cater to that modernity, that sort of globalism that all Premier League clubs have got far more experience, far more outreach, far more growth than us. He seems like the sort of man where I'm not surprised that he stepped in, because he's got that experience of that global outreach. That, yes, David has worked for MLS. I can see there is a global knowledge in there, but I might be wrong, but I believe he's never worked as a CEO before. He's always been answering to a CEO, always been like chief business officer, that role, which he was at Sunderland. I mean, yeah, he had pretty much total control while Kirill was away with the birth of his second child. But Burwell can theoretically move beyond that. He's basically, there was that rumour in the press not long ago about Kirill selling up and foreign investment and so on. Burwell and Gazolfi kind of rubbished those claims to an extent in recent media day with the local press. But they also, is it not a key indicator of Kirill's sort of intention that he's bringing his man in? Like, he's the guy who's run his capital companies abroad for a very long time. He's bringing him to Sunderland. What I really liked in that podcast, if anyone listens to it, be aware the podcast itself is Methven's podcast. He's not on this bit, but if you want to watch any other of his podcasts, which, to be fair, there's a really good one they did about Sunderland's finances and how we basically spent the lowest of all Premier League teams when you take into agent fees, amortisation, wages, and it's significantly lower than even Burnley in 19. Where they got those figures from, I don't know. It's a good watch. It's got Methven on. But the podcast itself that he done was with Methven's business partner. I can't name escapes me. But what he said in that was like, what I really liked was the when he said he went to Wembley, and I think he was a board member at that point, he says, and he wasn't CEO, he wasn't immersed within Sunderland. He was like, he said he felt like a voyeur watching 50,000 people's best day of their lives. Now he realizes that he's part of that, which is pretty important, really. If you don't get us, you'll never be able to lead us. And I think he, very early days, met him today, but he seems like he does know what he needs to do to move forward.
Yeah. What were your impressions of Andrew? You're like me, you're glass half full most of the time. So, people will probably say, you're being taken in by another owner. Do you not remember Donald and Methan doing podcasts for Roker Report and all this?
I think we're the Roker Report Happy Clappers podcast right now. Yeah.
But I've got to admit, I'm pretty confident more than anything. But, I can't speak for, I've never sat down with the bloke one-on-one. That is the most time I've ever spent with him. It's the first time I've ever spent time with him in that room. Like, see, he just seems to have his finger on the pulse, doesn't he? Which is important. And I feel confident coming away from there that the club's in decent hands.
Yeah, I think that's fair, Gav. I came away feeling kind of like, so far, so good. And yeah, in years to come, we might look back at this and think, oh, we've all drank the Tom Burwell Kool-Aid and it went wrong. But no, I came away thinking he seemed like a likable fella. He mentioned, family man. It's hard to express what you mean when you say, does somebody get it? But he seemed to be appreciative of what people were saying and where the fans were coming from. I was a little bit anxious about the fact that we've not seen any sort of formal announcement that he's taken over. Because, yeah, he was introduced to us as somebody who was interim.
And now you say that, I'm a bit annoyed I never asked about that.
Well, yeah. We're always clever after the event. But having now actually had the chance to be in the room with him, I think, yeah, quietly confident. He came across well, as did, to be fair to them, the other people in the room representing the club. I didn't get the sense from any of them that they would, they're going to be on their best behaviour, but I didn't come away with any bad vibes from any of them, if I'm honest.
Personally, I'm not reading too much into whether he's temporary, permanent, whatever, and why the announcement's not being made. But I think the two things for me which were really important when you kind of assess someone in his role are, and obviously the proof will be in the pudding as to how he ends up.
The proof of the pudding will be in the eating, Ian. I get
exactly.
That is that's going in room 101.
That big Europa pie that we're all going to be feasting on over the next few months.
Hopefully in Milan.
Yes. But the two things really you kind of look for someone like Tom Burwell to do is, one, does he kind of appreciate where he is? And two, has he got the ability to make forward-thinking decisions which, help the club long-term, i.e. be ahead of the curve? Don't know whether that one's his real 101. But what we kind of heard today was, examples of how we are really thinking ahead of the curve, and his kind of, key skill set is going to be someone who can develop the club for the future. And I'm confident, having heard that we are in a good position to do that. But he said something interesting. It's just a little throwaway line towards the end there, and he said, me and Flo were talking, Florian Gazolfi. He said, me and Flo were talking, and he said, we just need to enjoy this. And I thought, that's great. You've got a guy here who's just knowing that we are in a moment not to think about necessarily aspiring to do X, Y, and Z for the future, but just enjoying this right now as well. So he's kind of riding two things there, and so he's obviously invested. I think that's the way of looking at it. He's invested, and he's hopefully got a good plan for the future. But as I say, we shall see.
I think enjoy this is definitely a kind of club mantra that
it's becoming the new till the end, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Lots of people are saying this, and hey, it's right. If we can't enjoy where Sunderland are at the moment and what we've got coming ahead in Europe, when will we enjoy it? I think you're right. It was quite clear to me that thought had gone into what had been said, not just from Tom, but from his colleagues and that. But also, there was a bit of flexibility there. They weren't wedded so much to these ideas. So when one or two people prompted them or said, "Oh, could you look at it from this angle?" they seemed relatively open to it. It seemed genuine that they were considering what other people might have.
I didn't see a group of people who were stuck in their own echo chamber. I saw a group of people who were willing to kind of take on board.
If anything, we were the group of people stuck in our own echo chamber, to be honest. The way it's went the last year and a bit.
But no, yeah. I mean, I wish we could talk more about things that we're discussing in the room. Obviously, we can't right now, and people are going to probably be a bit frustrated with that. But look, it's nothing that's majorly top secret. You know, it's around ticketing, it's around the Europa League, it's around, you know, basically fan experience, you know, kits, things like that, right? So it's stuff that's going to come out in the wash soon enough, and it's nothing majorly secret. But all we can say, I guess, is we all bounced out of there. I thought we all felt really like, oh, this is quite exciting. And we were talking about this the other day when we did the pod after the fixtures breakfast, Andrew, was that it's starting to ramp up again, the excitement. And the big thing is, right, the club are having meetings during the summer with fan groups. So this isn't the only meeting that they've had with fans. They've already had, I mean, they've got ticketing subgroups that we're talking about. They've met with them. They've met with the branches. They've been speaking to people who represent the Red and White Army, and you know, people in the club have been spending time with. So, for instance, the safety guys have been spending time with the safety teams at clubs who played in the Europa League last season to find out more about how they policed things, how they stewarded games, how they dealt with problems. Like, the club are not sleeping over the summer. Nobody in there is having a summer holiday. It's just, you know, cracking on, getting ready for the new season.
That's important to highlight the people working behind the scenes. Like, I did a piece this week that's on the website. Everyone can go read it, on Chad Forsyth and his team that was developed over this.
Yes,
over
and
last
props
summer.
for that. It was a very good piece. Yes.
And it's like, obviously Reggie's had a lot of credit. The players have had a lot of credit. Kirill's had a lot of credit. Gazolfi. But it's like everyone else who works for them and under them and behind the scenes have done just brilliant job between them in the last couple of years. One of the heads of department today was mentioning just how when he first arrived, like, and he's seen the lads work and so the men and women working behind the scenes, like flat out, unsociable hours, not to grind direct from above, but because they want to. And that's throughout the entire club, backroom staff, media guys, marketing people, executives behind the club, just your standard like office workers and ticket office workers who are working above and beyond, all running like the same sort of singing from the same hymn sheet, working really hard just to get what's best for the club because they want to be a part of this success, because they want to drive this success. And that, to be fair, that does come from the top.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about this one, and we're not going to go into specifics of what it looked like, but because, you know, everyone will see the new away kit at some point today, I think. It is on sale on Friday. We did get a bit of a glimpse of it without saying specifically what it looked like. I mean, I've got to say, I quite like it.
Right. So the exact design is it's really nice.
This is another thing, though. The club are nailing these things. Like the people are going to love the kit launch video. People are going to love it. I know they are. And obviously we know what it's about. It's Elvis, right? It's obviously going back to the fact that an Elvis song is our anthem, and the club are really playing on it. But it kind of goes into that point, doesn't it, Andrew, about the club are forward thinking now, and somebody had vision on this. It may well have been David Bruce involved in a lot of that. I'm sure he was, you know. And that's, you know, we've given plenty of credit for those sort of things. And I think it just feels good, doesn't it? Like different, like no other clubs doing stuff like this. It's just like, I'm just, it all makes me really excited.
See, this is us in our echo chamber.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit disappointed we're going to be wearing black and white stripes away from home. Oh no, we're not. Oh, sorry. I was genuinely excited by that footage we saw. The idea behind it, the theme behind the launch was perfect. And I was speaking to somebody recently who was involved in the production of the home kit and the advertising for that. The depth they're going into is just light years ahead of in the past. A kit launch would just be a player wearing the shirt. You know, they're putting a lot of thought into it.
Remember when that blue one in the championship that had James Allen's great grandson just appearing in the bridge? It was in the bridges or something. Like, it's a light year away from that.
Rogue sort of marketed it where he was just appearing in random spots in Sunderland and they pretended it was like accidental leaks, but like they did it all on purpose. Actually, to be fair, like that era of the club, what was that? That was championship season. That was chair kit.
Yes.
Horrific home kit. Away and third kit the away kit was a blue, and then the third kit was that coal colour.
Yeah.
Not none of them particularly nice kits, but to be fair to them, they actually won awards for that, marketing awards, because the
fair enough.
launch of the away kit was like all rogue marketing, intentional with Alan. And the third kit was
So
all
I'm being unfair,
I
basically.
think it's a bit, I think
well,
it's a
it
bit
was filmed in Beamish Mine and they won awards. Like the market was still good. It was just everything else around the club was shit.
the marketing tools available to someone 10 years ago compared to compared to now is obviously a lot different in terms of what the club can do. I mean, just thinking about the kit, which we're all going to see. Well, today this will be going out tomorrow, and so today.
Yeah.
My advice would be to anybody, because my first reaction was, all right, okay. But my advice would be let it sink in. Let it sink in, and just have in the back of your mind, this might not be a kit necessarily designed with you in mind, but it's a good one. It's a good one, and I think actually, and ignore the marks when they're coming to say, "Oh, I've seen your kit," and all that. Yeah, well, we've seen yours, lads.
Yeah. Well, I think we need to let the author of Kit Kats, Andrew Smithson, have his say. Yeah, he loves when I bring that up. You can still buy it online, I'm sure.
I should know this. You can. If anybody wants to, all sales are welcome.
So on your books and bridges with the Andrew, so in Watson's.
Oh,
Yeah.
Could even get an audiobook with these dulcet tones in. Andrew got recognised by voice alone today.
Yes, yeah. He's like, what did he say? I wasn't expecting it to look like that.
I've got some important points to make about the football. I don't want this to be a pod about me.
Do you think you should have a voice like the Metro or something like that? That'd be quite good. This is simple. Do you have a voice in the Metro these days? I can't remember.
Voice of the Met.
Please mind the gap. Mag's hear it all the time.
That's right. I'm thinking the underground. So you could do the underground,
The marketing of those kits, by the way, I thought
Back on topic.
was good. I was just talking in general. Sometimes kit releases have been an afterthought. This is not an afterthought.
Yeah.
Something you said there, Ian, about just bear in mind, this particular kit might not just be designed for us. That feeds into the point I want to make, and the point you've said earlier about modernity, James. Sunderland are in a real tricky position in that there's 40-odd thousand regular matchgoers who want to hear things about connection, culture, getting the passion, getting the city, all of these things. But in the Premier League, we also need to make the most of the Elvis fans. There's going to be people wearing a Sunderland shirt once this is released that have never even heard of Sunderland just because it's connected to Elvis. The club and the people in that meeting we've just had there were keen to stress that they want to keep our identity. There's another word that Sunderland fans like. But we also need to, in order to compete with other clubs in the Premier League, we need to make the most of international markets. We need to make the most of people who perhaps have never even been to Sunderland or spotted us on the map. And I do find that tricky because I grew up supporting a club that was a local club, but we're not that anymore. I was pleased that people seem to understand that and accept that there's a tricky balance to be had, and the club are going to have to do things that we might not necessarily like the sound of, but it's just a necessary evil. I think the kit kind of points towards that. I think a lot of fans are going to love the connection with Elvis. It is, though, it just because of who it's attached to. This is probably going to be the biggest selling Sunderland kit we've ever had. The design I genuinely quite like from the bits we saw. Not everybody will like it.
Yeah, you're going to have your old guy who won't wear pink.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly. But the thing is, right, we're going to have the initial reaction tomorrow, and people are going to go, I love it. I hate
Today.
today.
This is rookie behaviour, Ian.
This is terrible. This is terrible. If someone doing what I do as well, I should know exactly. Let's see. Can't say that. Oh, well. Anyway, kits invoke memories, don't they? And the type of memories and the strength of the memories dictate how kits are remembered. We talked about this before. It's not an original thought at all, but you think about, the blue away kit. You think about that. And this pink kit is already on to win it because we're going to have it in Europe, in our European season.
Yeah.
So unless something absolutely terrible happens, and you never know, it might, this kit is going to be remembered positively, most likely. And as I say, whether you like or not as a design, it's a lot of that will be forgotten given the memories it will hopefully create. Let's see.
I mean, there's a reason why the club's playing in America this year, playing in Nashville. They're going to do something Graceland themed. It's not Nashville, but it's not far away. They're going to do something Graceland themed. They're going to take that opportunity to pounce on that market. And like, you both went like from like a emotional perspective, but if you even just look back and do it from like a pure marketing perspective, this is the teased recently that this is like year 1, episode 1 or something like that. They're going to have more Elvis themed kits. They're going to play into that marketing, which is something that's uniquely Sunderland. Yes, Chelsea have tried to start singing the song. Palace have tried to start singing it. Hull sing it. We all know Hull have.
That's going to be a thing now, isn't it?
But we can own it.
Yeah.
We're the only one with the Elvis trademark. We can actually take that trademark and say, this is uniquely Sunderland.
Sorry to cut across you, but I wonder how much that played into the club's thinking with, because it has been noticeable that other clubs are starting to adopt our anthem. And then maybe the club, that's ours. Like, what way can we kind of assert some dominance on this and actually make some money from it and kind of, Sunderland are the Elvis club now,
What we saw today.
Elvis is Sunderland.
Yeah. What we saw today would make you think that, yes, the hierarchy are switched onto these types of things. I dare say as well, they've probably latched onto the fact that Sunderland is a music city now. There'll be a link
yes, absolutely.
there.
I didn't even think that, but
yeah.
Well, Nashville is also a music city.
Yeah, exactly. So again, this is another sign that Sunderland are trying to keep their identity, but also expand it to a wider market. This is so difficult though, lads, because I'm trying to run everything through my head before I speak, just in case I say something. I'm trying to think, are we even allowed to say it's a pink kit yet, or is that embargoed or what have you? Yeah. We've let the cat out of the bag.
Black cat.
I know that Gav said it was the black, so
yeah. I mean, are we even allowed to say it's Elvis themed yet? I don't know. Maybe we'll just give the game away.
I think it's a lot of people have got fears over it being garish. All I would say is don't worry about it being garish. It's very sleek, very professional.
Yes. Yeah. Understated. Maybe it's not bright in your face. I did like it on the first look, but yeah.
The design, the design, the collar and all that, that's obviously.
Oh, well, you give that bit away.
All lack off. You never know.
Interesting.
I mean, it's massive, honestly. It's just like that, isn't it?
Harry Hills.
Yeah. Exactly.
Shirt pulling's going to be an issue, isn't it? When Talby tries to break down the wing, he's going to get yanked back by
the new refereeing rules of like 27, 28.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting that the training ground suits are all like white jumpsuits with zips and big collars.
You're laughing at that, right? But this is part 1. We're probably all going to get white jumpsuits themed kits at some point.
Just another thing as well. We'll not go into detail, but there was mentions about who will and won't sponsor Sunderland. And again, it was just nice to know that, as you say, the conversations are happening behind the... In the past, we've had these discussions, Sunderland are ran like a social club. They don't know their arse from their elbows. We've had horrific examples of sponsors' logos having to be stuck on across the shirts, and they weren't even stuck on right, they'd peel off and that. Just every aspect seems to be joined up and the different departments are working together. So, yeah, we can't go into details, but even me as a happy clapper did come away positive.
Yeah, well, that's no surprise then, really, is it? As a happy clapper. Right, I tell you what, let's go for a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll do some World Cup chat, I think, because I think we've pretty much avoided it on this podcast over the last couple of weeks, and it's well underway. So we will come back after the break and chat a little bit about that.
If your business runs on 5 different apps, 12 browser tabs, and 1 spreadsheet that everyone's afraid to touch, it's probably time for Odoo. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software that connects every part of your business into one powerful, easy-to-use platform. So instead of wasting time switching between disconnected systems, your entire business works together in real time. Your team moves faster, your data stays accurate, and you can actually focus on growing your business. Let one unified system run your entire business. From the first opportunity to the final payment, everything works together in one place. Whether you're a small business or managing a large operation, Odoo gives you one flexible platform built to grow with you. Learn more at odoo.com. That's ODOO.com.
When you need to build up your team to handle the growing chaos at work, use Indeed Sponsored Jobs. It gives your job post the boost it needs to be seen and helps reach people with the right skills, certifications, and more. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need a hiring hero? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs.
Where is Daredevil? I'm right here. Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated. We're gonna take this city back. Over medicated. In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
And welcome back to Howie the podcast, another peek behind the curtain. We didn't go anywhere. You've just inserted some adverts. I've literally just carried on the conversation from that point. But if you want to pretend that Ian went for a piss, James went for a pint of Guinness, and Andrew was signing copies of Kit Kat in the bar, then you can if you want.
It's taking 2 hours as a queue, honestly.
The people are demanding Andrew. That's what it is.
Even after I signed copies of Kit Kat, someone walked over and went, I know that voice.
He hates it, doesn't he?
I genuinely feel uncomfortable with this type of thing. I just want to talk about Sunderland.
Andrew Smithson FC.
World Cup. I threatened we would do this. So as we sit here tonight, who's playing from Sunderland tonight? What games we got? Oh, good prep, mate. You've got the fixtures here in front of you.
Literally just kicking off as we speak.
So we've got...
We're missing the big dog.
Yeah, so we don't know how Granit Xhaka is going to get on against Canada as we record this. He is playing, which is expected, I imagine. And then tonight we've got Talby against Isidore, which is annoyingly at 11 o'clock our time, so I'm not going to get to watch that. So as people listen to this, these games will have already been played. But I'll come to you first, Ian. From a Sunderland perspective, this World Cup hasn't been as interesting as I was hoping it would be. Considering how many players we've got there, it didn't feel to me like it really took off until that Brobbey performance for the Netherlands. That was the first time where I was like, I'm like, Sunderland are at the World Cup. Like, you know, you've had Siddiqui not starting games for Congo, which I can't get my head around. I don't know if anyone has any intel on that, but he hasn't started either of the first two games. Haiti, Isidore, you know, we've actually got a live stream with Xhaka, so you might get some live reaction to him pinging one in from 40 yards. With Isidore and Haiti, the bits I've seen, he's barely touched the ball, which you shouldn't really be too shocked by because, you know, it's Haiti. Talby's been on the bench from Morocco. Dingra for Ivory Coast, less said about that, the better, really. You know, the other players in the Dutch team haven't had a kick of the ball yet, so I don't know, like, has it felt a bit weird for you too? Because honestly, my big thing going into this World Cup was I can't wait to watch the Sunderland players, and it's not really got going from that perspective for me.
Well, the timing hasn't really helped in terms of all the matches being on at, you know, difficult moments in the middle of the night. But yeah, look, listen, the Brobbey brace was a standout moment, really, wasn't it? And it was partly, or in fact, probably in the main for me, a satisfying moment because it was vindication of what we already knew about that man and about how he was, and he still is seen a bit of a joke figure and all that. You mean, you saw the Declan Rice video at the start of the World Cup. I mean, the context I'm not entirely sure of, but look,
was it not because he chucked Dan Burn all over the place? I don't know.
Well, maybe that's what I heard, but you just never know. I mean, you might have asked Declan Rice, would you do that to Brobbey's face necessarily? You know, probably
you might get the chance to at some point.
Exactly, you might. But it's a you know, it's a performance from Brobbey which is one that we all knew he could produce, and he's produced it on the biggest stage. He's produced it in front of millions of people, and yet people are still saying, "Hey, hold on a second, he plays for Sunderland. He plays. Oh, what? You know, we need to sign him. You know, and all that." You know, but he's ours. You know, he's ours, and the pride that is attached to that is unlike any other feeling I think I've had before, because I can't really remember this happening at a World Cup. But also, you tell me that someone who does a job like Brian Brobbey in any other football team in this world, you know, we have someone that you just cannot defend against. His strength is on another plane. You know, his ability to hold the ball up, his touch is absolutely superb. And there's just nothing you can do. If he decides he wants to do something, just ask James Tarkowski. He's going to do it. And he's done it this World Cup. And I hope that he goes deep in the tournament, really. I really do.
just to back up your point, I think Van Dijk said the same in terms of training.
Oh, there was a really good quote. I don't know if anyone can pull it up while they were buying Tinier.
But yeah, it just backed up what you were saying. Gav, I'm really disappointed you didn't name check Masuaku, who's
He even plays for us. He's played every game, hasn't he?
He's been decent to be
He got an
fair to him.
assist.
Yeah, he did.
Got an
aye.
assist against Portugal for Wissa's header.
I mean,
That's what we ball in.
it might
Saying
mean,
redemption arc.
No.
no, but it might mean we get a couple of extra quid in the coffers, you know, if we move up. In fact, I don't even know if he's under contract, isn't
Still
he?
is, yeah. He's
So
the one
yeah,
there.
we might sell him on. You never know.
Might get a few quid out of the fact that he's decided to turn up for somebody at some point. Yeah, you're just bringing up this quote from Virgil for us, aren't you? He said, I never close him down too tightly and always try to read the situation. If that ball comes and he's got you locked in, you're done for. Now, when I read that, I laughed out loud. I proper snorted, like snot come out my nose. I was just like, and the reason I did that wasn't because like it's ridiculous or anything. I still can't get my head around that. This is a Sunderland striker that the best centre half of this generation is talking about. That's a Sunderland striker he's talking about. And I call a little bit of flack for posting photos of the likes of Charlie White and Mark McNulty and Kyle Lafferty and James Vaughan and Benji Kimpioka, and the list goes on really on social media in response to that. But you know, my reason for doing that is that, and it almost highlights the journey we've been on, James, doesn't it? That is a Sunderland player now.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
It is. I still can't get my head around it.
It kind of speaks volumes that Van Dijk and Canate together was maybe the best performance as a joint defenders against Brobbey this season. Brobbey hasn't
they were
played-
very good, actually. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, at home in the 1-0, they were great. They pretty much nullified him, probably because they stood off him instead of giving him the ability to pin him, use his frame, pin the man down like he does to then spin and turn away. Stood off him and then hit him on the second touch every single time. And Brobbey hasn't played for Holland for 3 years, but Van Dijk's played for Holland for a very long time. He'll train with them every single day during the national breaks. He'll know what to do to pass on to Canate. So it doesn't matter which one he peels off onto. But for being a Sunderland striker, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Like it's almost laughable, really, to an extent of where we've been to see the plaudits we're getting. I mean, I'm in the World Cup happy clapper corner over here because I've watched all the games. Not the daft o'clock ones, but I've watched most of the games, and it's like you'll see Premier League players playing, and they'll not really say anything. They'll just be like, "Oh, here's this man on the ball." Like Congo, for example, they were just like Twanzebe, who plays for Burnley, and Wan-Bissaka, who plays for West Ham. They just mention them on the ball, and then when Siddiqui comes on, or when Masuaku got the assist, they specified specifically like this guy plays for Sunderland. When Guy Mowbray was doing the commentary with Shearer, when Talby came on off the bench against Brazil and Morocco's opening game, drew 1-1. Talby didn't set a world of light when he came on. It was just a lot of nice interchanges. Never really gave the ball away, but also never really did anything as well, to be fair. Much better game against Scotland when he came on, to be fair. He nearly scored. And he specifically took the piss out of Shearer, like baiting Shearer, because of his North East knowledge should know about Talby, knowing full well that Talby scored against the Mags, and was like proper having a go at him, and you could almost hear Shearer's teeth gritting in the mic. It was great. And then it's like, for me, like I wrote 2 World Cup diaries so far. I'm doing it every now and again. Unfortunately, the last one was literally published about 15 minutes before Brobbey did what he did. So I was like, well, that's a bit of shit, look. But it was like, for me, watching the games, it's almost like wall-to-wall Sunderland. It's just like every other game, every other day, you've got, there's this Sunderland player against this one, there's this Sunderland player against this one, and every single time people are mentioning it. Maybe because of the surprise factor or that we've got, the 8th most players at the World Cup in the entire world.
The one that keeps getting hoided around is that we've got more players there than Real Madrid, which is something to bleat about, you know? But
you see the club putting that we've got 13 players there, when everyone knows it's 12. Like you can list the 12, I'm not going to, but you can list the 12. But the club put 13. I wonder if they put Voltemada in there.
No, was it not because Gertruida was called up late? I thought that's what it was.
Gertruida's the 12.
Oh, okay.
Is that not because we're going to sign one of these World Cup stars any day
now?
now?
Mbappe is on his way after this.
I just prefer the idea of them shithousing the Mags by saying that Voltemada's our record goal scorer.
Well, I tell you what, when I watched Brobbey, obviously there was a lot of pride involved, but it's also brought the eyes of the world to him, Andrew, hasn't it? Because all of a sudden, everyone's like realised this guy's actually very good.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of talk that this will maybe bring attention from top clubs. Are you a little bit worried about that or not? Because I've got to admit, there is a part of us that is genuinely worried because of how unique he is. we're not talking about, let me just think of a random striker in the Premier League at the minute. Even Thiago at Brentford, for instance, who's had a very good season.
Well, it's just lots of memes about how bad he was against Morocco.
He's not particularly unique, is he? Like, he's a striker,
He's better than most, though, isn't
No,
he?
my point is like, I'm not talking about better, like, there are far better strikers than Brian Brobbey, but he's unique. What he gives you is so different to any other player in the world.
He's got one outstanding individual ability that not many other players, if any, can do.
Yeah, and that's what worries me, Andrew, is that's what points him out a bit. And he will have been on the radar of a lot of these clubs when he had a really good season with Ajax like 3 years ago, whenever it was. And they'll have kept one eye on how he did at Sunderland, and that's what worries me.
That's fair. Because, yeah, you're right. If we were to lose him, either through a sale or an injury or what have you, he's so integral to the way we play, we would really miss him, perhaps more so than a lot of the other players in the squad. The reason I'm not too anxious about it, though, is if any recruitment team has something up their sleeve to replace him, should we need to, it'll be Sunderland. This World Cup will have scouts there. I don't think we'll fall into the trap of signing somebody who has like a random good tournament. You know, we've seen that so many times in the past. An unheard of player suddenly gets a big money move. We'll not be looking for that type of player, but there'll be players who we've already identified, we've already done a lot of work on, and now we are treating the World Cup as like their final rehearsal to see if they would fit in with us. But we'll also be scouting players who aren't at the World Cup. We will have a list for every eventuality. I don't want Brobbey to go. I think he's mint. I think he's going to be even better for us next season if we do keep hold of him. But if somebody comes along and gives us an offer we can't refuse, it shows...
What is that offer, though? Like, how much is he worth?
Yeah.
How much we don't know. Like, we don't know.
No.
This is uncharted territory, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It would be big money. And I'm not pushing him out the door, but if he was to go, and yeah, that's a fair point, it would have to be significant money. I think we'd be confident to replace him. And I tell you what, these conversations, I keep going back to this. You're saying how worried I am, Gav. It's a lot nicer to be worried that people are going to be cherry picking our players than thinking how we're going to get rid of this shower of whatever.
Well, we've also got that conversation as well. Yeah, we do have some of them, which I actually want to talk about before now you've brought it up.
Before that,
Brobbey as well. Sorry, James, you want to go first?
We need to talk Brobbey, man. Brobbey's class. For me, with Brobbey, I think the club holds all the cards. He's under contract till 2029, so there's plenty of time left there. Immediately the day after the game, Graham Bailey on Team Talk. I mean, take what you want from Graham Bailey.
Is he a Borough fan?
Yeah,
I think,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but he had a piece where he said
the Mags don't like him, so that's a good thing.
I think
they don't like him touting their players.
But I think Graham Bailey said 7 teams. I think it was Villa, Spurs, Man United, Chelsea, Juve, Atleti, and I think Bayer Leverkusen were all interested in him now, which is natural that they're going to be because of what they watched. But he also said later on that the club were already wanting to give him a new contract, so they're basically just turning down all offers, which is an interesting line to try and cross because the club have said in the past, if a player would like to leave, we would be happy to accommodate it in the right situation. Hence, Hertrauder and the links to Liverpool in January. The club were more than willing to let him go if we could get a replacement in, if the deal fell correctly. In the end, it didn't. We'll not stand in the way of players because ultimately you need to show that pathway. And there's a club just up the road who have refused to show that pathway time and time again. And it's now starting to sting them. You've got how many players have turned them down now because of the Isak saga, because of things that are going on.
By the way, that's funny as fuck.
this is the point, though, isn't it? Is that the best marketing tool for this club, and this is why Brian Brobbey should think twice before even looking at going elsewhere, if he had that option, is that the best marketing tool we have at this club is that we provide players with a home. And it started out with Patrick Roberts when he came to us all those years ago, someone who never really found anywhere to make his mark and get his roots down. And he played, well over 100 games for us in the end. And he contributed massively in getting us club back to the Premier League. So we can say to players, you can come to us and you can contribute to our history here, And Brian Brobbey, Christ, has he done that already? I mean, if he's done one thing in his entire career at Sunderland, that's scored in the 90th minute St James's, then absolutely fair enough. Yeah. But for him, from a club point of view, he's different to a lot of players in many different ways. But the reason why he's so different to us, for us is because the big worry you always have as a newly promoted team, and I'm never going to use that phrase again, by the way. That's the last time I ever used that phrase. But as a newly promoted side last season, the second season is always difficult because other teams work out the way that you play, the patterns of play that you play, they work out the skill sets of different players in your team. But Brian Brobbey has an attribute and a strength that no matter what you do, you cannot train against that. You cannot mitigate against that. And he will have that attribute next season, no matter what. You can put two players around it. He'll just bulldoze through the both of them. He will. And we will see how he goes. But as you say, James, he's going to get better next season.
I mean, you mentioned making players at home. Tom Burwell mentioned this, to cycle it back, in his podcast for Sports Biz, where he was like, Shaka's the ultimate embodiment of that. Come, make a home for your family, move your family over. He's done all of those things. He's created a home for himself, and he said to Nodi Mukele, come and do the same thing. But on the other hand, you do also need to potentially provide a pathway to players and show that you're willing to move some on, because they will have bigger ambitions than us. I mean, we are ultimately a selling club. Every club in the world is a selling club, apart from probably Real Madrid. So you've got to get that fine line. I think Daniel Storey, who's like a really good journalist, mentioned in a piece for iNews, I think it was recently, that it was all about Brobbey, obviously. Of course it was, like the issues that he's had in the past and the way he's developed. And he said he made specific points of framing a large part of his article about the work that Sunderland as a club have done for Brobbey and where he was with the difficulties that he was facing off field, off pitch, and the difficulties in on the pitch when he's scoring 4 goals last year. And we deserve immense credit for that. And any player who wants to leave, just kind of have that in the back of your mind. Like, it's not necessarily greener, the grass is not necessarily greener on the other side. Not all the time.
Well, we've seen plenty of examples in that in recent years of players who have left. And obviously, I'm very proud of the way we developed Jack Clark and Ross Stewart, Joe Bellingham, Tommy Watson. We made a lot of money from them players, but I don't think, personally, any of them players are in a better position than when they left Sunderland necessarily. Job got a very big move to Dortmund, and I hope he does well. But imagine if he'd stayed another year at Sunderland and played in a team that finished 7th. What caliber of moves would he have on the tail now? You say, do they regret it? Watson would have played games in the Premier League this season.
Especially with injury crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. Mundell was playing games and Mundell wasn't ready. Watson would have got minutes. And you do kind of think, don't you? Do they think, I wish I was still that Sunderland part of that?
Most of them, most players are have such an elite mentality where they'll back themselves regardless of the circumstance. So I don't think they would regret it. But I can't help but think that there's a little bit in the back of their mind watching the scenes against Chelsea, getting the club to the position that they're in, that maybe they just wish, maybe I wish I was part of that.
Yeah.
What's interesting to me, though, is whether they regret it or not, we don't.
No.
There's not been a time this season where I've thought, I wish we still had Job in the squad or whatever. We've managed to move these players on, get them the right money in for them, but replace them, and that didn't used to be the case. If Sunderland sold their star player, you'd never hear the end of it. Whereas now, you don't forget these lads, but we've moved on, and I think we've handled that side of things really well for a number of years now.
On and off the pitch as well.
Yeah.
Like, why would you regret Job leaving? Because we signed Xhaka and Siddiqui and Diarra in the summer.
Yeah. The interesting thing is, as well, is think about who we might get in the future, and we're all talking about the World Cup in a minute. But there was an article yesterday, I can't remember where it was now, but they're talking about how Sunderland planned 3 transfer windows in advance. So I'm thinking, right, well, what deals are we doing at the minute? And are we looking at the World Cup for players? And the answer is maybe not. Maybe not, because we already know who we want.
Yeah.
And I think it might be you, Gav, that said this time last year about how they'd said within the club, if we stay up this season, wait to see who we sign next year.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a huge amount of players, but it's going to be quality. So the trust is there. And the trust is there that we can get those players in, and give them that home that they want.
Well, that's what Gazolfi said, I think, the other day in that press, in the sort of like the embargoed sort of press day with local press, where he said last year was a sprint, this year's now a marathon. It's not necessarily about adding 14, 15 players again. It's about adding elite level quality. That's the exact words he said. And when I listen to Flo Gazolfi say things like that, like we've sat in meetings with Gazolfi, and he's kind of got the same aura about him as Burwell did. Whenever either of them spoke in these meetings, everyone just sat and listened. In Gazolfi, you get that sort of impression of the man that he knows exactly what he's doing, how he's going to do it, and he's probably going to achieve it.
Yeah. And that's why he was brought to the club ultimately. And we aren't used to this. We're used to bringing in firefighters or promoting people into a position of power that should be nowhere near that position, and then there being a fallout from that. Say, oh no, we went out and took the director of football from an elite European club, and we didn't just take him, we sold him a dream and said, you can achieve what you want to achieve with Sunderland, not with Roma. And I guess to a degree, Burwell can probably be included in that conversation, because he didn't need to come and run Sunderland. I'm sure he's very proud to do it, but he already had a very good job doing what he was doing, and it's obviously an exciting project that makes people want to be a part of the club. That's the, sort of to kind of circle back around to start this conversation and maybe round off. I guess that's why, we've got great people at the club now, is because the club's in a great place.
It's meant to start talking about World Cup and just circle straight back to Sunderland.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was actually going to talk about him, Abdullah Bar and Rusin, but then, I've decided why do that. Why put myself through that? Although we have got rid of a few this week, haven't we? If we want to quickly touch on it. I think Alexic went, didn't he, to Partizan Belgrade?
Yep, on loan with an option.
Relatively speaking, that's not an expensive flop, but it is, considering he was signed at a time when we weren't spending money, for nearly 4 million quid.
He got a big sign, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then he just didn't work out. And
to peek behind the curtain, one thing the club were doing today, it's like they're literally counting the pennies. Like some of the conversations he had, you're kind of thinking like, well, obviously SCR was part of the conversation, revenue and such like that. And you were kind of thinking like, how much does that really matter in the grand extent of Premier League money, transfer money, and the big parts of the pot, not just a little drop in the ocean, but it's clear that they're not letting anything go. Like they're doing everything they can to increase the amount of revenue that we can spend.
And what was it Tom Burwell said? Because I said something like, basically, don't be profiteering this. Just be careful around that. And he's like, yeah, but you know what? We have to make every pound count with our financial requirements here. That we have to what we have to meet in terms of SCR. We have to think about every single pound. Yeah. And that's fine. And that just then becomes a thing about how it's packaged to the fans and how it looks in terms of, I'm being very opaque here.
I mean that's why you can't afford too many Milan Alexiches and Simon Adingras, and you can't afford to waste. When you're saying to people, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna make this much revenue from this particular stream, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and then you sign a player that flops badly and costs a lot of money, it kind of offsets all that good work that someone in another area of the club did. Yeah. And it's great that people care, really. I mean, Andrew, you were going to comment on that.
I was just going to say that this attitude, it's stark how different it is. I don't want to go over all ground. Last time Sunderland were in the Premier League, there was people who just thought the money's going to constantly come. It's just like a flowing tap. It didn't matter if they were writing off money. It didn't matter if departments were wasting cash. It's much more professional and sustainable that they are. I know it's harsh, and I know we, as fans, we don't like to hear it, but it is better that they are being, like you say, they're counting the pennies. They're trying to do things right, and believe me, compared to previous regimes, it's massive.
I mean, you've got that old story where during the championship season that they had the cryotherapy chamber still. That was big. Allardyce was big on it, and Defoe would use it. All the players would use it. But then when it came to the championship year, it was still in operation. It was still being used, which would cost the club thousands just to maintain it, overheads alone. And the only man who used it was Martin Bain.
Yeah,
that kind of speaks figures about the way the club was and where it is now. I mean, to circle it back to Adingra in terms of like losing players leaving, trying to get every penny out of it. It's a little bit unfortunate with that absolute howler of a miss that he had against Ecuador, I think, was it? And he just took that horrific touch and it just all kind of fell away. Because ironically, literally within minutes of that happening, there was an article in France that emerged that AS Monaco were not going to take up the option to sign him. Like, obviously the two things are completely unrelated, but it's just a bitter irony of his miss that happened.
I didn't see that miss, and that's unfortunate. Just something I think it's important to point out, because we've all come away from that meeting with lots of opinions and hopes. Whilst they were keen to talk about money and that and looking after the pennies, there was no suggestion of penny pinching either mind.
Yeah.
It wasn't a kind of like, there's not money there. I think there's an understanding that they will have to spend money, like you say, with the cryo chamber. If there's a need for it and if the players are getting something from it, they'll put it in place. So
it's already proven with the restructuring plans of around the stadium and the Legends Way and all that they're doing this literally this summer.
Yeah. So yeah, just something I thought was worth touching on.
It's not penny pinching. It's how do we maximise revenue so that at the end of the day, the team on the pitch is as good as it can possibly be. And that's the way football is now. You have to have revenue streams coming in from all over the place. And unfortunately, because we spent 10 years outside of the Premier League, we are so far behind. And these people are at the club now to bring Sunderland into the future. How do we get ahead of clubs? You know, just staying in line with clubs is going to be tough in terms of, you know, and these are small clubs compared to us who historically are not competitive with Sunderland. They haven't won trophies. They maybe haven't been in the top flight for as long as we have. Yet, that's who we're competing with on all fronts. It's not just about competing in the football. It's about competing everywhere.
It's easier selling the world, though, isn't it? Sell a player. I mean, a year ago, look at what we managed to do. Look at who we managed to sign. And that's with the enormous caveat that this could all come crumbling down within a year. I mean, it could any time. But there's a far higher probability and likelihood that a promoted team will go back down when the last 6 have in a row. And then we still managed to get these players. We still managed to make these deals. Now look at how attractive a prospect Sunderland is now, both from a footballing position, come and compete at the highest echelon of European football, come and compete in the highest echelon of domestic football in Europe. Also now come and find all these family values and all these players who have just bought into every single little thing. And then off pitch, imagine the sponsors and everything else that we can now gain from all of these things that the club are developing in the last year.
That's exactly right. And the two things you've got to get right at a football club, the finance and the recruitment. And, you know, what I got from today was, you know, in a good way, every pound is a prisoner. That is the mantra that Tom Burwell was kind of going by. And when people get a bit kind of concerned about that, just remember that, I mean, in comparison to the other short days, you know, there was a bloody jailbreak and all the money because it was just hemorrhaging all over the place, as if that's what gave people comfort, knowing that money has been spent left, right and centre. 10 million that went on people like Jack Brobbey. So, you know, how 18 million on Dong or whatever it was. But through that all though, even though they are looking after the money, and I'm completely confident that they will do that, there was still the acknowledgement that for the fans here, for us next season, we're going to be spending far more on average than we have ever done on our football club. If we want to follow the team in Europe, and if we want to go to the home games and the away games and all that, and there is an acknowledgement of that there is a significant increased cost for the fans, and for me that's welcome. You know, that's what. Now some people might think they should be paying 10 quid for Europa League. Spoiler alert, that ain't happening. But it's fair, I think. You know, from what we've been told, although it's not all confirmed, it's not all set in stone. You know, the club are thinking about fans, but they're also thinking about, you know, the wider SCR implications as well, and that's great. So hopefully that will all stay in place.
The heritage, the history of the club is in the foremost thoughts with everything that they do, and in terms of like building atmosphere, building marketing about the club. When it comes to the finances and the running of the club, fans are first and foremost in every single decision that they're making, and that's clear as day from what they're saying. Yeah.
Right, it's getting cold. I'm hungry. James is hungry. I know he's getting food after this. We're going to finish our drinks. Thank you very much, gents. Been a pleasure. I've enjoyed this. We're going to do this more often, I think, especially in the summer months. Why not? Get out and have a pint after the various trysts we have at the stadium night. Thank you for listening. We've got loads and loads coming up on the feeds this week. There's already plenty to catch up on. This week we've had 2-part Q&A. We've had the final part of a 3-part series on the G-Force, Gates and Gabby Dean, which I love listening to, considering I wasn't even on this planet when those two were playing for Sunderland, unfortunately. But it's great to hear all about it. And there's plenty more coming up. So make sure you stick with us here at Howie the Podcast. We've referenced various articles, by the way, on the website. Lots of cheap plugs going in by the lads. Make sure you do head over to rokereport.sbnation.com to get all of your fan-written Sunderland content. We are Roker Report on all your social media feeds, so make sure you grab everything from there. I nearly got through me out without chewing on my own tongue. And right at the end, I ballsed it up. Never mind. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.